So I just got done verifying my third video, and what? And unfortunately, my ADHD or what have you took it from the history of comics warm up and intro to more entrepreneur stuff. So that'll happen, but I'll try to keep these more channeled in the playlist they're intended for. I'm working on the history of comic books. So let's get back to some place where we can move forward. So we talked about Yellow Kid being like the first um, comic strip, and by the mid 1930s, the innovation of the comic book had come in, and the publishers usually came from publishing other magazines or pulps. 30s was big on the pulps. In fact, I'll make a video on Timely. That's my favorite collectible, but not here. Try to avoid doing it here. But yeah, a lot of publishers were already publishing magazines and various things that they had reason to be interested in the innovation of comic books. And like I said, the first publishers were in control of comic strips, like, you know, what King Features or whatever, syndicated comic strips and stuff. And so they bundled up a bunch of the strips that they owned and said, "Here you go. Here's a." They weren't called graphic novels. Um, well, it was a real innovation to just not just have text in a magazine, but then put. In fact, Human Torch. The original Human Torch, not the Fantastic Four one. Um, and Submariner. Yeah, they found out years later that Marvel Mystery #1 or Marvel Comics #1 was not their first appearance, their first published. And I won't get into those until we talk about Timely and stuff. But yeah, supposedly Human Torch first appearance was as like a one-page comic strip in like a pulp or whatever. And I'm trying not to get into pulps, not here, not now. I was talking about the evolution of the comic book and how it went from a bundle of reprinted comic strips to then starting to try to offer new stories, new content, new things. And by 1938 is when what we think of as comic books really started. With there's three, four key comics. One obvious one for everyone is Action #1 with the first Superman, right? Another is Marvel Comics #1 with the first Human Torch, Submariner. No, I wanted to say Captain America, but no, he started with Captain America #1, like in 1942. Um, but yeah, yeah. Oh, the Angel, but he was always kind of a second string. He's not. The Angel was. Why am I talking about Timely's? No, no, no. Go back. Okay. Well, as at 1938. Um, so that's when we'd say the modern comic book really started. That's when they started with superheroes and stuff. And we're exploring the different things. And when they first went in with like new content and stuff, you'd have like 4 to 6 major character, well, not major characters, but characters in their books, and there'd be like a magician, a jungle guy, um, um, a detective, this kind of thing. And that's like Detective Comics. Okay, there was a key issue, Detective 27, the first Batman. Well, Detective Comics was around for 26 issues before that. And they were going for like detectives and stuff. It was supposed to be like a thrilling thing. Um, superheroes hadn't hit yet. The publishers were, seeking for where heavily influenced by pulps, no doubt, but they were seeking where they could find a market for this new comic book thing. And you had Detective Comics 27, the first Batman. You had Action #1, the first Superman. You had Wiz #1, it must have been, for the first Captain Marvel, which again is really bigger than Superman. Captain Marvel was bigger than Superman. And Marvel Comics with the Human Torch and Submariner and a few other second stringers. And they're big hits. And by 1940, there was a flood of comic books coming on the market and superheroes and trying out all kinds of things. And lots of publishers, at least a dozen major publishers. And I love the ones from 1940 to 1944, really. I love 1942. That was great. And what got me into collecting these around this era is what I call blood and guts patriotism. My first time, talk about Timely's again. Oh, I'll save that for later. Remind me if you care. So, so we're up to 1940, and comic books exploded and was big time. The publishers were seeking for trying all kinds of things, and the comic book artists were becoming more professional and getting experienced in what they do and having coming up with a style. And so I would say from about like 1940 on, you would start collecting specific artists like L.B. Cole. No, L.B. Cole would be from the 50s. What was the name of the guy with Plastic Man? Maybe what was the name of the guy that did? Beck. The Captain Marvel thing was C.C. Beck. Then to get pulled back to Timely's again because I have a Marvel Mystery #2. It's coverless with brown paper and brittle paper, but it's the it's the pinnacle of my career and always will be. I doubt I'll buy Marvel Comics. Although I have I have thought over the years that if I had $1 million that I wanted to put into a comic book collection, I could buy all of the 92 Marvel Mysteries. So they're expensive, especially Marvel Comics #1. It's one of those ones up in the hundreds of thousands of dollars because it's one of the 3 or 4 key issues. Another key issue that doesn't interest me much has to do with Walt Disney's comics and stories and Donald Duck. But I'm not as interested in those. So let's stop this video, keep these short, keep these getting uploaded. I did find out that uploading and making these videos screws up the software and the upload takes way too long and you can't kick it, you can't get a status update, you can't just redo the upload. You got to let them wait until they finish. So that's going to be a pain in the butt. So anyhow, I don't know what I'm going to make the next video for. This one's for the History of Comic Books playlist. Are you having fun? Are you enjoying it? If not, what are you doing here? Come on now.